Everyone, welcome. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on education itself. Ever wonder how a simple idea about what's actually worth learning turns into what you see in every textbook, every lesson plan, and every single classroom? Well, that whole journey has a name, and it's a powerful one: curriculum.
Think back to your school days. You remember the subjects, right? Math, science, history, all that stuff. But have you ever stopped to ask, what are schools really teaching us? Between the lines? The answer, it turns out, is way more complex and honestly, a lot more interesting than just a list of topics.
So, a curriculum isn't just some boring document sitting in a drawer. It's everything. It's the sum total of all the planned experiences a school offers. You can think of it like a social blueprint. It shows what a community actually values. And it's not just shaping knowledge, it's shaping our attitudes and our behaviors. This even includes something called the hidden curriculum. All those unspoken lessons we pick up about things like being on time or authority or competition just by being in that school environment.
All right, so here's our game plan for this explainer. First, we're going to look at why a curriculum is so much more than a syllabus. Then, we'll dig into the 4 big pillars that hold it all up. After that, we'll see how the blueprint gets made and then how it actually comes to life in the classroom. And finally, we'll wrap up by seeing why this whole thing is really just one big, unending cycle. Let's get into it.
Okay, so think about it like this. Every strong building needs a solid foundation, right? Well, a curriculum is no different. Before anyone even thinks about a single lesson plan, the designers have to wrestle with some really big questions. And the answers they find come from 4 key areas, what we're going to call the 4 pillars.
This table right here, this is basically the DNA of any curriculum. You've got the philosophical pillar, which asks the huge question, why are we even teaching this? Is the goal to pass down timeless knowledge, or is it all about helping each student grow as an individual? Then there's the historical pillar. It looks back at our past to figure out why we make the choices we do today. The psychological pillar is all about how students learn, and that shapes everything, from lesson plans to how a teacher manages the classroom. And finally, the social pillar asks, who are we teaching, and what does our society actually need from its schools? All 4 of these have to work together. They're the why behind every single decision that's made.
So, once you've wrestled with those big, foundational questions, what's next? How do you take that grand vision and turn it into a practical plan that a teacher can actually use? Well, that's where the development process kicks in. It's a really structured, step-by-step journey from a big idea to a concrete blueprint.
And this process isn't just guesswork, not at all. It's a very deliberate cycle. It all starts with gathering evidence, asking what's working right now and what do our students actually need. Then the teams get together, they develop the materials, and then they roll it out. And that final step, monitoring and evaluation, that is absolutely key. It's how you find out if the plan that looks so good on paper actually works in the real world.
Now, during this whole development phase, designers hit a major fork in the road. It's a fundamental choice. Do you build everything around the subject, where the goal is just mastering the information? Or do you build it around the learner, focusing on their personal needs, their interests, their growth? Think about a super traditional subject-focused school versus something like a Montessori school. Neither one is right or wrong, but believe me, that one choice completely changes what learning looks and feels like for a student.
All right, so you can have the most beautifully designed curriculum in the world, but it's still just a stack of paper until it gets into the classroom. This next part is where the plan meets reality. We're talking about implementation and evaluation.
And let me tell you, implementation is everything. It's the moment you turn those words on a page into actual teaching and hopefully actual learning. This is almost always the hardest part because you're asking people to change their habits. You have to train teachers, get principals on board. You've got to get an entire community to buy into a new vision. It's a huge lift.
So, who's responsible for making this all happen? Honestly, it takes a village. For a new curriculum to actually succeed, you need everyone working together. We're talking students, teachers, principals, supervisors, parents, even people from the community. Every single person on this list plays a critical role in bringing that plan to life. Okay, so the curriculum is in the classroom, teachers are using it, the job's done, right? Nope, not even close. Now the evaluation begins. The best way to think about this is like quality control. It's the formal process of measuring and judging. Is this thing actually doing what we said it would do? Which leads to the million-dollar question, right? How do we know if it's working? Are students actually learning more? Are teachers feeling supported? Are we hitting those goals we set way back at the beginning? Answering that, well, that leads us to our final and maybe the most important piece of the puzzle. Here's the thing about a curriculum. it's never really finished. Think about it. Society changes, right? Our understanding of how people learn evolves. New challenges pop up all the time. Because of all that, a curriculum can't just sit on a shelf. It has to be in this constant state of review and reform just to stay relevant.
And this right here shows you that the end of one process is really just the beginning of the next one. See how that works? The evaluation phase feeds right back into the research for the next version. It's this continuous loop of reviewing, revising, and improving, all to make sure that what we're teaching stays effective and, actually meaningful. And that brings us to a really crucial idea. A curriculum isn't some set of rules carved in stone. It can't be. It has to be a living document. Think of it more like a dynamic conversation that's always adapting to our changing world and to the needs of students.
Okay, so we've taken this whole journey from a big idea all the way to the classroom and back again. So what are the main things you should walk away with? Let's do a quick recap.
First, remember that a curriculum is way more than a list of subjects. It's really a society's answer to the question, what is worth knowing? Second, creating one isn't just random. It's a structured, thoughtful process that moves from a big idea to a real-world plan. And third, and this is so important, a curriculum is never really finished. To be any good, it has to be a living, breathing thing that's always being evaluated and updated.
So I'll leave you with this one final thought to chew on. Our world is changing faster than ever before. So the real question isn't if our curriculum should change too. It's how. How quickly and how thoughtfully can we make sure it keeps up?
Just so you know, a lot of the ideas in this explainer were built on the incredible work of UNESCO's International Bureau of Education, as well as some other leading experts in the field. Hey, thanks so much for joining us for this one.